Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to another edition of Football Theory. I am lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, joined by, he is a great football coach, all right, at the high school level, all right, in many different places. Burnett, Capel, Brownwood, Belton. I always mess this up. Rotan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad I got it right. I've been messing that up for a while. But you also coached at the college level too. Remember several stints here at the University of Texas you were on the staff as a consultant or an analyst. What was it, Coach?
Well, with Mac, I was an analyst. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And then with Tom was director of high school relations.
Yes, sir. All right. See, you know what? I'm going to make sure I get that right next time, too. Coach got an extensive resume, so sometimes I get it mixed up. He also played football at Abilene Christian and coached there as well. And now you can find some of his work away from the football field at shipleyranches.com. It's Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Oh, man, doing good. Just enjoying this nice evening before that Blue Northern rolls in here.
It's the last one. It's the last day of really good weather.
That's right.
It's supposed to last for about a week or more. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real cold. Yeah, as long as we don't get the freezing rain, I think we'll be all right. But, yeah, man, I'm not used to that. I lived in Detroit for a while, so I can handle it. I did Detroit.
Yeah. This is nothing to you.
Yeah.
You'll be wearing short sleeves this weekend.
Yeah, man. That's a different kind of cold out there. Playing in the NFC North and having to play in Green Bay and play at Chicago, Soldier Field. Like, those are different kinds of cold, man, having to play outside. I never got used to it. I'm not going to lie. Never got used to it. Never played long enough to get used to it, to be told.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, Coach. We got several topics we're going to dive into today. I want to get your thoughts about Quinn Ewers. The announcement is official. Quinn Ewers is coming back. I mean, I think everybody felt that was going to be the case, that Quinn Ewers would be coming back to the University of Texas as their starting quarterback. But now it's official. We did announce it via social media. I want to get your thoughts also about all the guys and the announcements these days, announcing either way, back and forth. When I was coming out, I don't think Rod B was, had to make a declaration either way whether I was going to the NFL or not. I don't know if I was that good. But it seems like now everybody has to, because of the transfer portal and because, everybody leaving to go to the NFL, potentially more and more underclassmen, the guys have to make it known. They have to make it known and declare whether they're going or they're staying. What are your thoughts about that? It seems like that's definitely a new thing because you do it on social media.
It is.
Do it with videos and stuff like that. Is this something you think that you'd been into as a coach from either level, the high school side or the college side? Nothing you can do about it. But
I don't like it. I don't like these big productions. Just
yeah. Everybody has to do one though. It's like a music and everything. Yeah. I know. I figure most coaches are into it, but hey, the players. Whatever floats your boat, you know what I mean? And like I said, honestly, if social media was around when I was a player coach, I probably would have been into it too. So I can't judge.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's where we live in, but man, you talking about videos, and some of them are a little cheesy, but man, how about Jay Witt? How about
that? Was nice
Jay Witt's not announcing anything. Jay Witt's just saying thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
That's a great point. That's true. You're right. Jalen Ford did what too? Jalen Ford. Did you see Jalen Ford's?
Yeah.
That was sentimental. That was pretty good. You're right. I like the farewell videos. Those are really good. The declaring whether you're going to stand. I do understand. But Quinn Ewers, he had to do it because he's a starting quarterback at Texas. He had no choice. So we'll get into that and talk about it. We'll also get into the Bo Davis news. I know a lot of people are disappointed that Bo Davis is leaving. He's departing for his alma mater, LSU, going back to Cajun country. So we'll talk about it. Coach, I think you got some really great insight and perspective on this because some of the, I would say, prime candidates to replace Bo Davis, you personally, and you've actually worked with personally, and I want to get your thoughts about these guys, and also talk about some of the other possible replacements for Bo Davis. We know Sark's going to do a great job. He's done a great job hiring since he's been on the 40 acres. No reason to think that he's not going to make a sound hire here, but replacing Bo Davis, that's a tough task because he was definitely one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. And I want to get your thoughts before we get done on Nick Saban as well, retiring officially. It seemed like the last 24 hours or so, man, Nick Saban retiring, Bill Belichick parting ways with the Patriots, Pete Carroll with the Seahawks. I mean, if you're just a coach I mean, how can you not be affected in this time? And it was a great day to talk to a coach.
Yeah.
Because I want to get your thoughts about these gentlemen and their legacy, because you're talking about the GOATs of their specific level of football. And it's really, really intriguing. So and it's a connection to Sark, because Sark talks about two of his mentors, Nick Saban and, of course, Pete Carroll involved in that. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's give a little props to our sponsor. Football Theory is brought to you by the accomplished Austin realtor, Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. Give her a shout at 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. So thank you to Laura Baker and the Andy Allen team over at Keller Williams. All right, Coach, let's get started. Let's start with Quinn Ewers and his decision to come back to school. We thought that would be the case, but he made it official via social media today. What are your thoughts about, and I looked at the Heisman odds, by the way. The Heisman odds have him tied with Jalen Milroe, I believe, with the best Heisman odds right now going into 2024. What are your thoughts about Quinn Ewers coming back to school, and do you think it was the right decision for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the right decision. And I think most of us expected it, even though, there's always that possibility. You never know for sure what a guy's thinking. His top four production in the passing game, receiving wise, are gone, and so it's a little bit of a gamble. It's a little bit of a risk, but at the level that UT is recruiting right now, I don't think it's that far-fetched, and he knows he's got to continue to develop and he's got to continue to grow. But I'm so impressed with the progress he made from the 22 season to this season. He's just seems so much more comfortable and mature and a great leader and part of that culture, I think. He strikes me as being a silent guy. I haven't been around Quinn since we were recruiting him. And he started coming up when he was like 15 or 16 years old, and it was hard to get him to say a word back then. But still, he's one of those guys. He's a little bit, like Colt, and even Vince. He's not a guy that's gonna, be brash and all that. He's more of a kind of follow me type guy, and he's not going to be, banging the drums real loud, trying to bring attention to himself. But I think his work speaks for itself, and that's good and bad. Mostly good, obviously, but for the NFL, I just don't know that he's quite there yet. And I think he will, obviously have a chance to have a long and storied career. But another year under Sark and in this program and this team will just further solidify him and his legacy at the university. And I'm going to tell you, this too, Rod. That's a big deal. I mean, you can, and personally, I mean, you have your own story, but, I know for Jordan, and him to be able to have a good career at UT and have some success on the field, it won't do anything but solidify you for the rest of your life, because, I always taught my kids and kids that I coached and recruited, when you're through with football, you're stuck with who you are, and so the fact that he has been loyal to the university, and not that it's disloyal to leave early, but just solidifies himself with the alumni, not only the letterman, but the alumni and the donors, and just the whole Longhorn Nation will, I think, go a long way to serve him the rest of his life, no matter, what he tries. I know that the success that Jordan's a great realtor. He's a great broker. He's a great land guy. He knows so much about the business, and he's, but a ton of his success comes from his time at the university, and the name that the university allowed him to make for himself, and you have the University of Texas, as the largest living alumni in terms of numbers in the country. And so that's huge. And so I do think that Quinn will solidify himself, and his name and his legacy at the university by coming back, riding this momentum into another year, and not just have a flash in the pan. 1 year, I'm gone. Good luck. Y'all start over, And then, of course, there's the Arch Manning side of it. And people are all worried, well, one of them, somebody's going to be the transfer portal. look, man, Arch Manning didn't just fall off the turnip wagon. You know, he knows, and his family knows, that to be successful at the level that he expects to be successful at, you've got to be patient, and you've got to continue to grow and continue to learn, and this will just help him in the long run. I know he would probably love to, to be the guy next year. We all saw what happened. 22. Well, when you have injuries from quarterbacks, you can be thrust into the limelight in a heartbeat. And obviously he'll be ready for that. But I think I don't think it affects him, and I think he would probably love to be the guy next year. But another year is not going to do anything but just get him more mature and more ready to take over the reins whenever Quinn does leave.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that too. I think for Quinn, it's important. I want to see him make it's tough because it doesn't happen a lot. We've seen in the NFL a lot of backup quarterbacks have to play, third string quarterbacks have to play because quarterbacks, they get injured. If he could make it through an entire season, I'd love to see in his third season as a seasoned quarterback in this system under Sark. It would be, like you said, more of a challenge because it'd be new weapons, right? He doesn't have chemistry with these new guys. They don't have a lot of experience, so there will be some growing pains. And I love the way my man CJ Vogel put this. For Quinn's first 2 years on the 40 acres, the talent's been lifting him up pretty much because you have great talent around you. JT Sanders, you got X-Man, you got Jay Witt. That's a lot of really good help. Bijan Robinson before that, Rojo. Right. That's a lot of NFL caliber talent at the skill positions. And now it's going to be more about Quinn uplifting that talent. And we put that on quarterbacks. It's probably unfair, but we put that on quarterbacks. Hey, man, you got to make guys around you better. You got to make those guys around you better. You need to expedite their development. So this offseason is going to be big for Quinn. You don't have chemistry with the receivers. You don't have continuity. You're the guy who literally has the keys to the facility. You're going to be setting the workouts, the team workouts away from the coaches, the team organized workouts. That's going to be on you and the young receivers to get, the throwing sessions in, to figure out the guys that need more work and what they need to work on. Like, Quinn's going to have to actually take on that role. That's a big role. I watched Chris Sims take on that role. I watched, Major Applewhite in that role. I watched some really good quarterbacks in that role. And, you just talked about, Colt McCoy and some of those other guys, and Vince Young. It's always the famous story about Vince Young writing on the dry eraser board before that 2005 season, that national title season in the offseason, right? If you want to beat Ohio State, meet me out on the field. Let's go. When the team is yours, and I don't even know if the team has been Quinn. I don't know if it's been his team. I don't know if it was when Bijan and Rojo. That was kind of Bijan and Rojo's team. And even this year, I'm not sure he was taking ownership of it. He's at a natural leadership position, can't be ignored. But this year, this is his team. There's no doubt. You're the guy. You're the guy. All right, it's you. There ain't nobody looking at JT Sanders or talking about X-Man or talking about A.D. Mitchell. Everybody's going to be talking about Quinn. And this team is going to go where Quinn goes. You're right. I think NFL scouts want to see him in that role. I want to see him in that role. I think he's going to flourish in it. And, you can't help but at times have to hold your teammates accountable in a vocal manner, even if that's not, something that's you're comfortable with. The situation is going to call for it. So leadership is confrontational. I know he's not that kind of player, but I can't wait to see him, like I said, in the role of ownership of the team and having to uplift the play of others around him. And I think helps him. He's got an offensive line that's going to return 4 of the 5 starters, and he's got a lot of talent there too. So that's going to be the story about how he performs in that role, coaching. This season he performed as a top 10 Power 5 quarterback and pretty much all the major stats. This season, we're expecting him to be a top 5 Power 5 quarterback, if not higher. And if he is, he'll be in the Heisman conversation. If he is, Texas will be in the championship conversation.
Yeah. He's got so much riding on this next season that it's going to be fun to see. And obviously, he's not afraid of hard work. It's going to take a lot of time this offseason, as you have already noted. Spending time with those new receivers and the inexperienced guys to get them to the level that he wants them to be at when we kick off next fall, and obviously, he's got a really good grasp of this offense. And so you take a young, 2 seasons ago, you couldn't say that you could trust the quarterbacks to go out with the receivers, and this is what Coach Sark is thinking. This is what we want to do out of this, out of this scheme or whatever. Well, he knows it now. He knows it like the back of his hand.
Yep.
And I'm sure the offense, as it always does, will continue to evolve. It's all an evolution anyway. But I know that Sark will have him coached up on the things. The coaches have a limited time they could spend, as you well know, with those guys on the field. And what happens from now until April is going to be huge in the development of our passing game and the weapons that he has. And Quinn knows he's going to be as good as his receivers produce for him on the field and for the team. And that's what's so fun. And this because y'all had all those. I remember coming up and what y'all would play whoever. I mean, Texas State would come up and play 7-on-7. Just whoever you could get to come up. There was even rumors of meeting A&M somewhere. Like in Rockdale or something, and playing 7-on-7 out here. I know that got shot down the last day because I was sitting around watching, listening to that, and they were going to meet, I think, in Rockdale and have a little 7-on-7. And I thought, man, how would you like to be a little kid riding your bike along? All of a sudden you go, man, that looks like Vince Young out there, And next thing you know, you got, whatever, Roy Williams, all these guys, whoever, these guys out there, and all the dudes from A&M, and they're playing a touch game out there on the Tiger Stadium at Rockdale.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But anyway, so it's a lot of time. My point is a lot of time out there with the guys one-on-one with no coaches around.
Mm-hmm.
So that development will be critical.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I remember I was there when we was going against Texas State, and it got heated out there, man. Trust me, because
there is no authority figure around. No. It's all player led and player.
No. And trust me, trying to call your own pass interference calls. Really heated up. I remember those sessions, Coach. But you're right, it was all about getting better. One other thing, specifically for Quinn. What do you think he needs to work on? What's the kind of the major part of his game? We're talking about him as a leader, and I think he will shine there. But, what part of his game does he need to work on? Because usually, this is when quarterbacks take a leap, right? You're a multi-year starter at Texas, and that doesn't happen a lot. Sam Ehlinger did it as a multi-year starter, and I think he took a leap as a quarterback, but the team didn't take a leap. But you go back to Vince Young, you go back to, Chris Sims, Colt McCoy. When you get a multi-year starter, usually the team is going to win close. They're going to be a double-digit win team most of the time here at Texas, and the quarterback takes a leap where he truly his draft stock it increases as well. What would you say as a coach that he needs to work on physically?
Well, that's hard to say. I'm not necessarily a quarterback guru, but there's some obvious things, and I know he's going to have to push himself out of his comfort zone. And as you were saying, be more of a vocal leader, be more of a guy that, Ehlinger was such a great leader. I was with Sam 4 years, and he was just, he was like, hey, we're going to run through this fire. I'm going first. You guys come with me, and grab him by the jersey if you had nap of the neck, and we're going, let's go and run through it. And we got all out of him we could get. He was not the most talented guy out there, but was an incredible leader and tough, and so that's not necessarily who Quinn is, but I'd like to see him push himself in those areas out of his comfort zone, as you were saying, because the guy leaves high school after his junior year and shows up at Ohio State. You from right there, you're almost oppressed to the fact that nobody wants to hear what you have to say because you're 17 years old. You should still be in high school, and then coming into Texas and, having the reins, really what would be his freshman year, I guess. And so that's not really who he is, and that's not how he's been, what he's done. I think the difference is Sam had that in his personality. That's who he was day one. And I'd like to see him push a little bit more in that area. You know, I don't know how many things he needs. You know, what does he need to do? We weren't good in the red zone. How much of that is on Quinn? I don't know. You know, you keep going back to the last game and all the balls he had batted down, you know, and maybe, you know, you talk about, you know, as a quarterback, you know, you have your high beams and your low beams, you know, and sometimes you get so focused on one, you can't see, you know, a guy directly in the path that can knock the pass down, you know, just little nuances like that. You know, I think will go a long way to help him. Personally, I'd like to see a little more velocity. You know, sometimes there may be a little too much touch on some passes, but you know, that's just me watching on the TV or in the stands. It's not, you know, they know a whole lot more about it than I do, but it was just, you know, when you see Michael Penix throwing those dimes and then, you know, Quinn, you know, and that's not Quinn. He doesn't have that throwing style, you know, but those are just some things off the top of my head. I think, you know, I'd like to see a little growth in those areas, but who am I? I was a dumb old rockhead fullback, you know. If I ever broke through the line, I won't go out and run anybody. I just looked for the nearest DB and ran over him because it was going to happen. Let's just get it on right now. So I'm an old rockhead, but anyway, those are just my thoughts.
No, Coach. Hey, trust me. Your football knowledge greatly appreciated, Coach. Trust me, you got decades of it.
Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think?
I do think because with Sark's offense, you know, Quinn is mostly a first read, kind of wide window thrower, and that's great because Sark's offense is built on pretty much throwing to the first read. When he gets deeper into his progressions, there are times I think Quinn maybe gets a little erratic, and I think that's why he's going to the dump off later on in the season because he doesn't want to get deeper into the progressions. I'd like to see him go through the progressions and keep his eyes downfield, maneuver in the pocket, still maintaining some pocket presence, being able to feel the pressure, but not seeing the pressure, not looking at the pressure. I think there are times where he looks right at the pressure. And I think that's why he doesn't get deep into the progressions because he's looking at the pressure. They're the great quarterbacks. They understand where the pressures will be coming from because of the pre-snap, because of the look, and because of the protection and where it's set. So they know where the pressure is going to be coming from, and they know where to move in the pocket. We saw that from Penix versus Texas, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Exactly. That. I mean, he was aware. He was aware of his low beams, but his high beams were always downfield.
Yeah,
and I think that just comes with experience.
Exactly. If it wasn't for a deep quarterback draft, he probably would have been a first round pick even this year. But we're talking about him being elite, being considered to be 1 overall. That's his potential. He was rated one of the top quarterbacks in the history of recruiting. That's what we're talking about. But we're not criticizing, dogging Quinn. Quinn was fantastic.
Oh no, he'll be one of the greatest to ever suit up.
Exactly. We're just talking about him taking the leap to the next level. Listen, they got him as the best Heisman odds. All right now for 2024. That would say that they have him in the conversation to be the best player in the country. To be the best player in the country, there has to be a leap. That's got to be a leap from year 2 to year 3, and I think he's got it in him, and I think we'll see that. But
I do too.
There's a lot of there's a lot of unproven commodities around them in the skill positions. All right, Coach, I want to get your thoughts about Bo Davis leaving. Bo Davis is now officially, the reports are heading to LSU. And nothing wrong with that. That's his alma mater, by the way. So there's always kind of a loyalty to your alma mater. And I understand that because I love the University of Texas like that too. It also, you know, there's reports, I believe, from Chip Brown and also from Kirk Bowles that he's got a son that plays football in southeastern Louisiana, and that it's possible he may want to coach his son. That could be one of the motivations as well, and maybe that's an easier situation for them to potentially, achieve, or something that they could actually get done and accomplish at LSU, and maybe they couldn't do it at Texas. I'm not sure, but that's some of the reports that are out there. Either way, and of course, they offered big money. Big money is a big part of it, a huge factor. Yeah. Can't say it's not. The reports are between 1.3 million, something like that. So who knows how much he's getting paid, but I'm sure that Texas could have offered or would have offered or did offer as much as LSU, but if LSU offered a little bit more than Texas, and with the emotional connection that he has, personal connection with LSU, I understand why he would make that decision. Your thoughts, Coach, on Bo Davis? You probably have. I mean, you've been around University of Texas a long time. I don't know how well you know Coach Davis or not, but your thoughts on the departure of the defensive line coach?
Well, I have an incredible amount of respect and admiration for him, having worked with him, every day for a while, and he's he has a way of relating to his players that you just don't see. And when I see how hard he pushes his players in ways that if Mama was around, she might not be real happy with, but I promise you, those guys would take a bullet for Bo. They would, because he spends time and develops relationships with those guys. And so when you do that and you create that culture in that room, you can coach them hard. And he coaches them as hard as anybody I've ever seen. So seriously, I mean, stories I can't tell, I can't tell in public, so I go, man, we're going to get a phone call tonight, nah. Those guys they're chopping it up with him after practice and laughing. And I mean, he just has that way with guys. So it's a huge loss. But I'll also say, and if you've kept up with his career, it's kind of his MO. I mean, he'll stay 3 or 4 years, maybe 3, and then he's been to Alabama twice, I think, and Texas twice, and LSU. This is his second time, I think, at LSU. It's kind of his MO, but he always. It's not like he's going, to bad jobs. He's going to great jobs, and he always has results. So it's certainly a loss. Not so much his recruiting. I think he's a good recruiter. Maybe not elite, but he's good. But his development is just amazing. So that's my thoughts on Bo. The things that I could tell you about. But I got nothing but respect and love for that guy, man. He is who he is. I mean, everybody else is wearing these, nice little, stuff on the sidelines. Bo's wearing his old sweat. He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care. He's always worn. That's who he is.
You're right about that.
The fact that you have the coaches trying to hire him and the coaches that he's worked for in the past are the best of the best, and so. I wish him the best of luck. I hate to see him go, but there's some good candidates out there. There really is. Some of them I have a history with, so I'm kind of pulling for those guys just because. Well, let me tell you my thoughts on it. When I went back to my hometown in Burnet and coached Jordan there, I had only had 2 years head coaching experience, and that was a little old Class A school called Rotan. We were the Yellowhammers, which is a really pissed off woodpecker. Really, that's really what a yellowhammer. It's a woodpecker, and so I got the job and Burnet. And one of the ways that I got it, they didn't know for sure how good Jordan was going to be. He'd just been a freshman, but I told them that they can't hire anybody that wants to come in and see us succeed. My alma mater, that's where I grew up and went to school. And so you bring a guy back in that's put sweat and blood and time into a program as a player, then you'll have a hard time finding somebody that would give more than one of those guys will, because it means more. It means more because they got a reputation, at this university. And the university helped them be who they are. And, of course, talking about, Oscar Giles and Frank Ocam and Rod Wright, those are 3 of the names we hear, of course, along with Freddie Roach from Alabama. And I don't know Coach Roach, but I know those 3 guys. I know Frank. I never worked with Frank. I spent some time with Frank and when he was at Baylor. And then Rod Wright and I worked together, in the 2013 season with Mac Brown. And I owe that dude a lot, man. I had never coached defensive line or played defensive line, and he took me under his wing and showed me everything. He was coaching me, just just helping me, and just very patient, and his knowledge and his personality would make him a great fit, I think. The most experience I have with those guys is Oscar Giles. And you go back and you look at Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton. Oscar recruited all those guys. He signed all those guys, as well as a couple of others that have recently gone to the NFL. He's a great recruiter, and I think it's easier for a guy who has played for a university to come in and recruit for that university, because he could tell personal stories about what this university has done, not only for himself, but for other teammates and classmates and things like that. I don't know. I get the sense, maybe, reading some stuff, that maybe Oscar, some people are kind of wanting someone new to come in, but I'm telling you, Oscar's a grinder, man. He's as good as they come, if you ask me, and he's a great recruiter, and he's the reason, in my mind, that Bo was able to develop these guys. He couldn't develop them if they weren't there. And so anyway, that's my thoughts. I don't know what he'll do, but I love Rod. I love Oscar. I think either one of those guys, and Frank too. I think Oscar may be a little bit more outgoing than those other two guys. They're a quiet, deeper thinker type guys. Oscar's, Oscar just who he is, and I love that about Oscar.
Yeah, I've known Oscar Giles for a long time, and he's a great guy, but also very outgoing personality. And that's what makes him a great recruiter. You just pointed out. I mean, and he's been at Texas in multiple stints, right? He was on the staff with Coach Brown, on the staff with Coach Herman most recently. And as Coach mentioned, recruited all those guys. So you've seen his recruiting resume. And then you go look at his first stint with Texas. I mean, you're talking about developing guys like, Alex Okafor and, Charles Amenahu and, Brian Arakpo and Sergio, Tim Crowder.
Oh, yeah.
You name it. I mean, so the development is there as well. And you played him this year, actually, because he's the Wyoming.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now.
Yeah.
So I think Oscar Giles would be a great hire. I'm with you on the Frank Okam. He's with Toledo right now as their defensive line coach. So he's a young, fast riser in the coaching community. So if you want to go really young, you can go with Frank Okam. Rod Wright has already ascended to the NFL. First year with the Texans. For those who don't know, he's the assistant D-line coach for them Texans. He's right now, whether he wants to come back to college or wants to stay on the NFL track, I guess would be the concern. But I like Rod Wright, and he's recruited. Remember, he was at UTSA.
That's right.
So he's got history recruiting the state of Texas specifically. That could be a bit of, I think, an advantage. And a name that's been brought up, some people bring it up, Ed Orgeron. I know he's got some baggage, but man, we know the man can recruit, and we know he can recruit.
He can recruit. I can't understand hardly anything he says, but he can recruit. It don't matter if you and I can understand. It matters if those mamas and those kids can understand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I know he's got a little baggage, and I know he's got, some people say he's eccentric. But I love
that. I mean, if he's an assistant coach, I'm good with that. I mean,
he's a D-line coach, but he may not want to. I don't know if he wants to take that. He's got, being from the head coach at LSU, maybe he doesn't want to be an assistant anymore. I get that. But just as a candidate, he's out there. And you mentioned Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is the Alabama defensive line coach. And because Nick Saban's a topic we'll discuss here before we get out of here, Nick Saban retiring officially, a lot of people believe maybe you can persuade Freddie Roach to leave Alabama. And we know that if you're a coach at Alabama, you've already been vetted by Saban, so you're good. I mean, that's
no doubt. There's no doubt.
I believe Bo Davis, didn't he start out with Saban?
I believe so at LSU. Yeah, I believe so.
He started out early with Saban, right? Early on. So, hey, there you go. I mean, small world, as you know, coach in the coaching community. Speaking of, let's talk about Nick Saban here, because you're a coach, and I played college football, played the NFL. When you get Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, and Pete Carroll all either retiring or parting ways with their team within a 24 to 36 hour window, it's jarring. I don't know. It feels like the end of an era. I feel like it's worth
No
discussing
doubt.
on every football show, Coach. And that's why I mean it's a great day to talk to a football coach. I don't know how many times you've crossed paths with Nick Saban, because I know you coached for a long time, or Bill Belichick or Pete Carroll. I know that the coach community is small. First of all, your thoughts in general on these guys, and have you ever crossed paths with any of those goats? The coaching
Well,
world?
actually, I've met Saban. I don't have an extensive relationship with him at all, but I think we talked about maybe last week. Bill Belichick came in and I was in charge of our coaching clinic in the spring, and we got Belichick to come in and be our speaker. We had about 1,000 high school coaches come in for that. It was awesome, and he wanted to work out some of our kids that were going to be going in the draft. And so I got that set up with our guys and got him out on the field with him. And he was really, and it's like we talked about then, he was exactly the same guy. I'd pick him up at the hotel, take him to the clinic, take him to DKR to work out these guys or whatever. And he's just the same guy. I mean, exactly like he comes across. He is who he is. He talks like he talks. He kind of mumbles a little bit, and he just, but certainly one of the greatest, that's ever coached in the NFL, without a doubt. The thing I love about those guys is that they've stood the test of time, and they've been successful over a long period of time. And they're not job hoppers. They don't move around a lot. They just stayed and built incredible dynasty type programs. Pete Carroll was always a little bit flashy. I mean, remember when he was at SC, and I just remember chewing that gum on the sidelines, like, Hollywood's going to take over Texas here, 2005. Y'all come on in. We'll be nice to you, but we're fixing to show you what the greatest college football team of all time looks like. And it didn't turn out that well. I thought he was a little cocky. You know, Bill Belichick, he ain't cocky. There ain't nothing cocky. And Nick Saban, if he is a little cocky, he certainly has every right to be, although I just think he's real. I just think I love those guys that create that hungry culture in a place where it's so easy to feel like you can spoil kids, and they become, pampered or whatever. And that was always the talk about Mac and our kids had everything, and all this, and they kind of seemed to be entitled. And that's one of the things that I love about Nick Saban. He's one of the things he said was that, we want our mentality with our guys is we'll eat off the floor. It don't matter. We don't have to have anything fancy. We eat off the floor. We'll do whatever, because we're going to stay hungry and have that chip on our shoulder. And they did. They played at a high level, every time they stepped on the field. And that's a sign of a great coach, to me. I think Nick's probably through coaching. I can't imagine him going on. He's got some nice properties in northern Georgia and out in Florida on an island. I mean, he's going to live the good life. Saban, they sound like still wants to coach, and there's certainly some openings out there. And I don't know what Pete looks like, but I think as a college football coach, Nick Saban is the greatest of his generation. Things were so much different back with, Rodney and, and other guys that you hear so many great things about from a generation before him, certainly. And he probably was the best ever, because the thing I loved about Nick was he adapted. He stayed up with the game. Yep. And he was the kind of guy who kind of did what he did. And then the SEC, he had good control over that. But then when they got against teams that were, you remember, SEC playing against teams that threw the ball, they struggled. They struggled with tempo. They struggled because they were so used to running the power game and trying to stop the power game and all that he struggled. But he adapted. And I love the fact that he lets his coaches coach. And that's you pick those guys and you turn them loose and let them do their job. And he seems to have done that really well and just imparted such great wisdom to his players. I love just if you want to kill a couple hours, just look up Nick Saban and hear some of his wisdom and philosophy. And it's something that our country needs right now, not just football, but just in general. Nobody owes you anything. You have to earn it. And who doesn't need to hear that from time to time, but I think it's a sad day for football to lose those, but it's opportunities for other guys to come up and, who's going to fill their shoes type of deal.
Yeah, there are, of course, so many connections to Nick Saban with the University of Texas. Whether you're talking about the beginning of their dynasty or his dynasty at Alabama, 2009, as we know, and not trying to relive painful family memories, Coach Shipley, but
yeah, it's painful. Yeah,
the beginning of their ascent and the beginning of Texas descent as a program, pretty much. Then we know the Nick Saban rumors about him coming to the University of Texas during the later years of Mac Brown, and then of course a Nick Saban disciple, former assistant, mentee, Steve Sarkisian beats Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa the last year that he's coaching college football, and
last game he lost at Bama. Last game he lost in Tuscaloosa.
Exactly, yeah. That's a great point, Coach. And essentially that almost feels like he exercised the demons. It feels like the curse. You feel like the curse is lifted somehow. That Steve Sarkisian has lifted the curse, and hopefully that is the case. Let me ask you this, Coach, because a lot of people think that Steve Sarkisian could be interested in that position because he's been listed as one of the top candidates to take that job. And when you got a blue blood job like Alabama open, of course, I mean, all the top coaches in the country are probably going to get a call, and that's probably going to be considered. Steve Sarkisian was on that short list reportedly, and some Longhorn fans are concerned. They're worried that maybe Steve Sarkisian could be poached. I'm not worried because based on multiple reports, even Joe Klatt pointed this out, Steve Sarkisian had a chance to be, the next coach in waiting or to be the heir apparent to Nick Saban, and he chose that he wanted to build his own legacy, that he didn't want to stand on the shoulders of the GOAT. I'm sure he would have been great at Alabama. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been great. He would have been great there, but part of his legacy would have been, well, they followed the GOAT Nick Saban, and, he was essentially given a silver spoon kind of situation here where he was given a huge advantage to kind of start his legacy as a coach or reinvent himself as a coach. I think Sark wanted the challenge of going somewhere and starting something, building something from not from scratch, but at least building something all his own, in his own image, essentially, as a football coach, and not standing on the shoulders of Nick Saban. That's why I think there's nothing to worry about. I think that Nick Saban at one point, I'm sure, was a big Sark fan and wanted him to be his successor. I think based on the money situation, I know Texas can match dollars, but even with Sark's kind of personal connection to Nick, I mean, he credits Nick Saban for saving his life, for finding the heart issue that Sark had to deal with. So he's really grateful to Nick Saban, but I do think ultimately he wanted to bet on himself as a coach, and that's what he did at Texas, and it's paying off for him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He could certainly handle that job. He's proven that if you can handle the job in Austin, Texas, you can handle it in Tuscaloosa. Although the pressure there, you don't win 6 national championships or whatever, is you're second best. And I think that Sark is well on his way to establishing himself in Darrell Royal type conversations. He hasn't done that. He certainly has a potential, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Why go follow a guy like that? You can't top what he's done. Exactly. I mean, you just can't top it. I mean, there's so much parity in college football now, especially now, with the transfer portal, and you're seeing teams that they hadn't won it. I don't know when the last time they won, maybe 4 years ago. Georgia won it twice. Is that right? And then Washington. I mean, it's been, but still, they're always in the top 5, finish in the top 5. But like you said, he came in and got our program when it was in a very low point, and most of us wondering, Are we ever going to get it back? Are we ever going to get this thing back? You know, and he's done it. And I know one season is not back, but he's got a great foundation. He's got a great culture that Nick Saban didn't create it. You know, nobody can say they created except Steve Sarkisian. You know, he built this culture that we're enjoying right now. And the reason that excuse me, so many great players want to come play here because of what he's built. So to walk away from that into the shadow of Nick Saban, I don't think Sark is motivated by money. He's got all he needs, I'm sure. He wasn't making. I mean, he wasn't making near what he probably should have been making here. He's about to. I hope we don't get crazy with that, you know, and do a Jimbo Fisher kind of thing. But I think he's proven he's not a Jimbo Fisher in that regard. He's just what we needed. And I can't imagine anybody else coming in and doing what Sark's, you know, been able to do. And it's just such a cool, as you were talking about, redeeming story about second chance, you know, and not giving up, people not giving up on him, but most importantly, as you mentioned, him not giving up on himself because people took a chance on him. And it was, and we rolled the dice when we hired him too, when Texas hired him, you know. I've said this before, you know, Texas is the kind of job it'll drive you to drinking. I mean, it's tough.
It's a stressful job.
I was on the tarmac when we came back in 2013 from BYU. We flew in that night, and you know, that's when he let Manny Diaz go on that tarmac outside the defensive bus, and it was just like, oh, he ain't messing around. This is real. You know, this is real, and it's a tough place. It's a tough place, but but I think it's the best place in the country if you can get it going in the right direction, which we are right now. And so I know all of us are hoping that he'll stay and provide some consistency and continuity in our program. And the great thing is people want to hire our coaches. You know, that hasn't always been the case, as you well know.
Yeah.
So
what about that?
Yeah. So, you know, when I was around Sark, you know, when he first came in, he's the same guy all the time. He's the same guy with a custodian as he is with the GAs, as he is with the alumni, letterman, whatever. He just got a really good grasp of what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, and that he can do it and stay within himself. And so, sad day for college football yesterday and NFL football in general, but still a good day to be a Longhorn, ain't it, Rod?
Hey, every day is a good day to be a Longhorn, Coach. I got one more question before we get out of here, Coach. Before we do that, we'll give some more love to our sponsor. We're grateful for her as well. Football Theory brought to you by Laura Baker, the accomplished Austin realtor. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. Give her a shout at 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. All right, last question, Coach. What's more impressive, being what Nick Saban's done as the GOAT at the college level, what Bill Belichick's done as the GOAT at the NFL level, or what Pete Carroll did as potentially one of the crossover GOATs at winning a national title or multiple national titles? And man, he was 1 yard away from winning 2 Super Bowls. Think about how different his legacy would be if they had beaten Texas, which they didn't do. They came close, and he had handed the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. Pete Carroll would be your GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. He would have the greatest resume in the history of football for a coach. Multiple and consecutive national titles and NFL Super Bowl titles. Nobody would have been able to compete with that. But I digress. Which one's more impressive, Coach?
They're all impressive. As you said, that the three of them all have something that distinguishes them. One in pros, one in the NFL, one in college, and one in both. And I think they were all the best at that particular. You know, I don't know if there's ever been a better college coach, of course, than Nick Saban. Not a better pro coach, probably. Yeah, I'd say Belichick. I mean, he's a GOAT. But like you said, and then to have one who's crossed over and had success at both sides. Maybe not quite, but like you're talking about, it's just a fumble away or a handoff away or something, just keeping him from. But it still doesn't change who he is and the job that he did. I'm going to go with Nick Saban.
All right.
I think Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban is all around because in the NFL you don't have to recruit. You just draft them and just hope your owner gives you the money to pay them. Nick Saban had to recruit all those dudes. He had to go out on the road and recruiting while Belichick was fishing or doing whatever he was doing in the offseason. He wasn't worried about signing players as much as but what Nick Saban did year in and year out to get that thing to the level and to keep it there. It's one thing to get it to that level, but as we saw from 2005 through 2005, 2006, I mean, and then Mac is able to keep it. And then, from 2009 to 2010 and 11 and 12, it's hard. It's really hard to keep it at that level. Yeah. And Nick did it. And so I would say Nick followed by Belichick. But I wouldn't argue with anybody that wanted to change the order of that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm going to go with a wild card. I'm going to say Pete Carroll. I want to say being able to win consecutive championships at the college level and then just go to the NFL. And Coach, those are different locker rooms, man. Very different locker rooms. These are grown men as opposed to young men. And they're almost two different sports when you look at talent acquisition. Like you talked about recruiting. Hell, that's a whole nother job in itself that coaches you have to do that you don't have to do in the NFL. I want to say Pete Carroll to switch it up like that, to be able to just go and do it at an elite level. And now look at Russell Wilson. Turns out Russell Wilson may not have been as great as we all thought. And he was winning the Super Bowl with him.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Man, I might go wild card and go Pete Carroll on him, Coach. That was tough to do, man. Both levels. To be elite at both levels like that. Jimmy Johnson done it. I know Barry Switzer kind of did it, but he didn't build it. Pete Carroll built it like Jimmy did. He built it at both levels. To build it at both levels like that, I'm going to say Pete Carroll. I'm gonna give Pete Carroll some love. Yeah. Well,
and I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you there for sure. He definitely was able to adapt. Although that SC culture and locker room was a lot like an NFL at that time. It really was. I mean,
you're right.
I'm telling you.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't realize the difference in college and the NFL is in the NFL. It doesn't matter what kind of facilities you have. It don't matter if the players like you or not. It really doesn't. In college, you have to have great facilities and you have to have the team on your side, or especially nowadays, or they hit the portal. In the NFL, you're getting paid lots of money to put up with whatever you got to put up with. Well, I know when Jordan was with the Bengals, they didn't have an indoor facility. But what y'all do when it's 10 degrees, Dad, we're going outside. That's just what we do. Mm-hmm. They didn't invest any money in facilities. And so that's the thing that, one of the reasons that I went with Saban, because you have to recruit those players, then you've got to keep them, which is sometimes as hard as recruiting them. And still culture is so big, and you have to have a relationship with your players. And in the NFL, as you know, you don't have that relationship. When practice is over with, everybody goes home. You don't go to the dorm. You don't hang out. You don't build up, build that team. It's everybody's got to be mature enough to know, they're getting paid to do this. And in college, it's about relationships. So, and that's right. Pete Carroll was able to do it at both levels. But I just think what Nick did was just, respect. Hats off to all three of those guys.
Yeah, it'll never happen again. I don't know if it'll happen again for either of those guys. Maybe somebody, Jim Harbaugh, I will say, is trying though. He's trying to be the crossover. He's trying to go to the league, win a Super Bowl and become one of them other guys. And honestly, he can do it. He's a good ball coach.
Well, let's win a couple more championships before we put him in there.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with you saying, like, if you win at both, you win at the college and the pro level, that's still win a championship at both. That's only been done by 3 guys. And I don't give Barry Switzer a lot of credit for building it. He just kind of rode.
He did. Yeah, he did.
He rode on Jimmy's accomplishments. But hey, man, that's the 3. So, all right, Coach. Hey, Coach, I appreciate your insight as always. You're fantastic. Thanks for all the knowledge. And we'll talk to you next week. For all those listening, thank you guys for joining us on another edition of Football Theory. And until next time, hook 'em.
Hook 'em, baby.